Hello everyone and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 Custom Project Set 2. Here we have the fifth car of the set already, the Ford GT40 Race Car, specifically the 1969 Golf livery version. Of course, this car needs no introduction. It is an incredibly famous car that almost everyone is at least somewhat aware of. This car has won Le Mans 3 times in a row from 1967 through to 1969. This car has been featured in Gran Turismo games of the past, specifically Gran Turismo 2 through to Gran Turismo 6, and it is a fantastic classic race car. This build comes fairly close to replicating the race car, though there are some notable drawbacks since the base car here is a road car, but I'll get more into that later on. As with all the builds in this series, the livery you are seeing on the car was made by another player in the community, and I've left a link in the description for you all to download and add it to your own libraries to use for yourselves. If you do choose to use it, be sure to send some support from this video to the original creator, and without any further delay, let's head to the tuning shop to fit the custom parts. So, now that we're in the tuning shop, we can head first into the sports section, where we won't need anything. The Comfort Soft tyres are fitted to this car by default, but we won't be using those. And unfortunately, there is no weight reduction available for this car. In the Club Sports section, you will want the power restrictor. In the semi-racing section, you'll want the fully customizable computer. You'll want the fully customizable LSD, and the increased body rigidity. In the racing section, you'll want the polished ports. The supercharger high-end torque is purchased, but it is not fitted in this build. You'll want the racing intercooler, the racing air filter, the racing silencer, the racing exhaust manifold, the racing brake pads, the fully customizable suspension, the racing clutch and flywheel, fully customizable racing transmission, and racing hard tires. Now, if you wanted to, you could go for racing medium or soft tires. I've just gone for racing hard tires for the increased durability, but if you want to go for medium or soft, you could. It's entirely up to you. For the extreme section, I have the carbon ceramic brake kits. You could go for the regular brake discs if you wanted to. I've just gone for the carbon ones because I prefer the look. It's entirely cosmetic. They are all the same performance-wise. And I've gone for the intermediate tires, but that's only if you want to take it to Le Mans. Otherwise, you can just stick with your racing tires of choice. And in the ultimate section, I have the Supercharger High RPM S. Now, when I first thought about trying to do a GT40 race car build, the update that added the ultimate section to the game hadn't been added yet, so I had the other turbocharger fitted, but now that this one's available, I would recommend using it because it gives increased performances at all ranges instead of just a high or low end, and it gives more power, so I think it is all around the better option. So, now that we have all our parts fitted, we can head back to the garage, and we can begin tuning this car. Just before we get into the tuning for this car, I would like to note that the original car has a weight of 998 kilograms, but my build has a weight of 1080 kilos. This is as low as I can go because, like I mentioned earlier, this car doesn't have the option for weight reduction at all for some reason. I also tried using the modern Ford GT from 2006 for this build, but even with weight reduction stage 5, that car ends up heavier than this car is. Obviously, we're trying to turn a road car into a race car here, so there will be certain limitations and inconsistencies. But in practice, I don't think this hinders the car too much, or at least as much as you would think. It would of course be better and more accurate if we could lose the extra 100 kilos, but this is the best we can do with what we have available to us. Another smaller difference, nowhere near as impactful as the weight issue, is that the real car is listed as having 492 horsepower, whereas my build has 493. This is close as I could get with the parts available to me, without fitting something to then massively limit it. And it's only 1 extra horsepower, it's not a massive deal, and it doesn't make any real difference in performance. And now, with that little disclaimer out of the way, we can get into the tuning for this car. So, for the tyres, we have racing hard tyres equipped. For the suspension, we have 115mm of body height for the front and rear. For the anti-roll bar, it's set to 4 front and rear. For the compression on the dampers, it is 30 front and rear with 40 front and rear on the expansion. For the natural frequency, it is 3.45 for the front and rear. For negative camber angle, it is 2.0 on the front and 1.0 on the rear. And for our toe angle, we have none applied to either the front or the rear. For our differential, I've gone for 10 on initial torque, 40 for acceleration sensitivity, and 25 for braking sensitivity. All of those are on the rear. The front values can't be adjusted because the car is rear-wheel drive, not front-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. For the downforce, it is untouched on this build. For the ECU, it is fully customizable, but it's set to 100%. For the ballast and power restrictor, none of that is altered. And for our transmission, I have the fully customizable racing transmission selected, and it is manually adjusted to the ratios you see on screen here. Like always, with the manual tuning, I recommend starting from the lowest gear, in this case the 5th gear, and getting the first number before the slash accurate to what I have on screen. Once you do that, move on to the 4th gear, then the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. Once you've got all the first numbers before the slash accurate to what I have, then you want to adjust the final ratio here, and that will make your second number after the slash line up with what I have on screen here. So I'll just leave this up here for a second for everyone to copy, you can pause it here, adjust it to what I have, then we can move on. So once you have that, you will come over here, we can see our racing intercoolers fitted, the supercharger, the racing cleaner, silencer and exhaust manifold, our racing brake pads, our carbon discs, our racing clutch and flywheel, the polished ports, and the increased body rigidity. So now that we have covered all of the custom parts and the tuning settings, all it's left to do now is head out to the track and see what this car is actually capable of. So, how does this car feel in practice? I honestly think it feels amazing. This might be my favourite build of this set. I'm really happy with how well it's turned out, and I'd say it's probably the second most surprising build in terms of how well it has turned out, with the NSX being the biggest surprise. Like I said, the base car of this build is the GT40 road car, which is an American road car from the 60s, so it definitely has the potential to be really difficult to work with. But this car feels incredibly good given its age. It feels like a greatly competitive car that can easily keep up with other cars in its performance bracket. It's a great rival to Group 4 cars and is therefore a great choice for the Le Mans Money Grind event, quite fittingly I would say. Now, some of you will be wondering how this car compares to its biggest rival within the game, and probably of all time to be quite honest, the Ferrari 330 P4, because it famously beat the P4 at Le Mans. While it's competitive, I would say the P4 has greater performance due to being so much lighter. If we could lose the extra 100 kilos from this GT40 build, then I think they would be perfect rivals for each other, but as it stands currently, the P4 has greater performance, but it's not by an insane amount, so I think you could still race the two of them. I think they could both be quite competitive, and I think they could give each other a good run for their money. So that will do it for this video. Let me know what you think of this build. Stay tuned for the last build of the series tomorrow. Thank you all for watching, I hope you've all enjoyed it, and have a great day.